We are live. This is the market update. I am your host, Bill Noble. What is going on in markets? Why can't crypto rally? There is a bigger story, and I'm going to demystify what is going on out there in the macro world. There's stuff going on with dollar funding. People are having trouble getting credit. That sounds an awful lot like 08. Then there's these ideas of why gold is going up. Gold isn't going up because of inflation. Gold is going up because, well, you better stay tuned because I'm going to explain to you the relationship between gold, dollar loans, and why people can't get them, which also explains why crypto can't go up, because crypto has just experienced a credit or margin shock. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And then we'll also talk about things like the Jefferies investment bank and what exactly is going on there as this government shutdown and this gold rally is pulling back the curtain on all of these things that, despite the crypto price action right this second at 7:30 p.m. Central Time on October 16th, make crypto look terrible, make everyone depressed. All of these things put together all lead into a renaissance for crypto. Ironically, at a time when Max Payne most likely is at the highest point in crypto ever, right? In winter, people get bored. Okay, they get sad, but they get bored. Then with FTX, the shock and the despair about the system, yes, that was very scary. But a lot of people thought, well, everything is fine. I'll just buy it when it's lower, or it's Solana's fault, like Solana at $10. Everyone says Solana is dead. In this particular case, people are saying that opportunity is dead, right? It's not just crypto. It's my ability to have opportunity in this market has vaporized. It's beyond fear, greed. It's beyond market direction. So on one hand, we have a macro problem that a lot of people can't see. We're going to talk about it. We are going to talk about it. We're going to try to explain it in plain English, because better to hear it from me than to hear it from the Wall Street Journal 2 weeks from now. And at the end of the day, it's very ironic that the thing that Satoshi was afraid of, the reason they wrote this paper after 2008, the Bitcoin white paper, the reason they wrote it, it's all back. It's expressing itself a little bit differently, but people are losing confidence in the system slowly. Like, you can look at gold and go, well, I understand people are afraid. Okay. Afraid of what? We're going to go through all that in English or in plain language. Okay. And then we're going to tie it to a scenario where crypto puts in a bottom on max emotional pain, whether that's now or 2 days from now. Now that the market is down, I feel completely comfortable with it. I published this thing as an aside in Patreon where I was like, yeah, this could go lower. And Toby even helped me out with the tactical stuff, even though she hates all that, because she's like, 2 or 3 months from now or 2 or 3 years from now, no one's going to care. You're right. But psychologically, it's nice to be able to get it on a dip, ETH below 4K. There's a lot to be said for crypto here. And the depression is across the board. Like, I'm getting messages from some of the smartest people I know going, oh man, are we there yet? So this is really wearing people out. And that is exactly what you want for a gigabottom. Think about it for a second. Even before I go into the whole spiel, you have despair and depression like you've never seen before, because everybody thought it was October. Everyone's like, now it's our time. It's our time to follow gold. It's our time to follow the money supply graph. Right? Wrong. Everyone stopped out. Everyone forced out. Everyone eating Kentucky Fried Chicken. As unfortunate as that all is, you have an emotional bottom here. You have an emotional abyss that really isn't captured by fear, greed necessarily. I mean, yeah, okay. If Bitcoin went to 104, yeah, fear, greed would be very low. But the emotional abyss is here because you couldn't get people to pay higher prices. And then add that to a series of catalysts that are very complicated and hard to understand. But if you did understand them, which you will at the end of this video or stream, you'll be like, oh, wow. Why am I bearish crypto? Okay. So without further ado, let's get into it. Let's just roll. Now, one of the most common things that everyone believes in crypto is that, oh, there's so much money out there. They printed all this money, right? Well, they're going to print all this money, and that will be the conclusion. So yeah, there is good news here. But how much money they're going to have to print is a function of the story I'm about to tell. One thing you may have noticed is that Argentina just flew into Washington, and they just got themselves a $40 billion deal. It looks like a bailout, right? I mean, they couldn't get credit from anybody else. So Uncle Sugar gave them a $40 billion line of credit. Okay, well, Argentina's always got problems and no one cares. Yeah, it's whatever, right? Okay, but as soon as that deal got done, South Korea called up Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, and it's like, can we get a loan too? This is South Korea now. This is not, South Korea. It's like, yeah, we're having a little trouble getting dollars. Can you help us out? And everyone's looking at this. No one really understands what this means, right? No one understands it. All right, well, I'm about to help you. So what the Fed and most likely the, administration, given their kind of like FAFO type of mentality, they're using the dollar as like an instrument to help their allies and punish anybody else who they don't like. In other words, if you want a loan in dollars, you got to come to us, because if banks won't give it to you, yeah, you got it from us. You got to come do things our way. Now, this is also exacerbated by the shutdown. In other words, just think about it. When Uncle Sugar is open, that's why we call him Uncle Sugar, because there's all these dollars out there circulating, right? All this spending, all this lending, all this economic activity. Well, guess what? That's not happening. There's a shortage of dollars, and it's so bad that the Federal Reserve's own like emergency facility, they just had to lend out $6 billion overnight, right? Because everyone's like, well, I can't get a loan. I got to go to the Fed for $6 billion. That's a lot of money if it's like plugging a hole in a balance sheet. Like, oh, I'm insolvent unless I get $1 billion from the Fed. That's, that's a real number. Okay. And then to add to this, it looks like, I don't even know if I can say this, LEH was the symbol. LEH part 2 is happening because JEF, another investment bank, according to their filings, just repledged $20 billion of their clients' money so they could get a loan. So if you're a customer at this place, your deposits or your assets just got used for the company to get a loan to plug a hole in their balance sheet. So the Fed is rewarding political allies with loans. Non-U.S. banks and smaller brokers are running short of reliable credit. Now, gold rallies in this environment because it's outside the dollar system, right? It's a hedge, not against inflation. It's people trying to get out of the dollar credit system, right? People are like, oh, whoa, wait a minute. We're not doing this. No. We got to get in gold now. So as dollar credit tightens, gold becomes the collateral of last resort. Central banks, sovereign funds, private investors start buying it quietly, not because they fear inflation, but because they don't trust liquidity promises anymore. In other words, I should be able to go over here and get dollars and loans, right? Wrong. Like, this is a baby 2008. Essentially what happened there is people just stopped lending money to each other. Whether they're running out of dollars or the dollar system doesn't function, who cares? Right? And Uncle Sugar is like, it's weaponizing the scarcity. It's squeezing people. Like when someone asked Besant about gold, you know what he said? He's like, yeah, more buyers than sellers, which is a really stupid comment on surface, considering he's like, the Treasury Secretary and a hedge fund guy. He's like, yeah, more buyers than sellers. No, actually what's happening is, they're squeezing a lot of people on purpose. That said, this cannot continue. Like, they have to issue debt. The Fed's running out of emergency money. And you can see very quickly how this can get, frankly, out of hand, right? If gold goes up every single day, okay? Because you can't have a shutdown, a freeze in lending, exacerbated by that shutdown. Sovereigns, not just banks, sovereigns like South Korea can't get loans. Now, in crypto, bringing it all back to that, crypto is having its own little liquidity crunch because all these margin accounts just got liquidated, and anyone who needs new loans to try to go back in on leverage, the system isn't doing it. System's like, yeah, guys, okay, you had fun with your leverage, but we're not doing it anymore. Sorry. So that explains why no one wants to pay higher prices. In other words, spot buyers want to buy it when it's down, but nobody was interested in paying $4,200 for ETH, even though, frankly, that's cheap. And frankly, so was 111K Bitcoin. Right? None of these coins are expensive. And you have coins popping off dramatically, like Bless and Tau and Zcash. So crypto is ready to go. It's just being held back by this larger funding crunch that's out there. I always talk about crypto as like the little boat floating in this giant ocean. Yeah, and of course, crypto people can't possibly understand it. Frankly, I didn't understand it. I had to collect a whole bunch of tweets overnight and then research it and be like, well, wait a minute. This guy named Endgame Macro and Just Dario are putting this together in pieces. So nobody really knows what's going on. Now, in case you're not having enough fun, here further creates the case for crypto. You realize that you have a bubble going on in equities. Like, there's no question about it, right? You've had alt season on Robinhood with, quantum computing stocks, nuclear power stocks, AI, whatever, right? Even some of the crypto treasury companies have been in this insane Robinhood FOMO. So on top of, let's call it a lending freeze that are spooking people into gold, you have a monster bubble sitting on top of that. Okay. Again, that explains why crypto maybe trades a little bit spooked. Maybe crypto's like, hey, we're a little bit afraid. We're this teeny tiny market and we all just got liquidated. And then on top of that, you're emotionally wounded and you're living in the dark because you don't know what's going on until now. Now, I would call that max pain. Max pain, because whatever the Treasury and the Fed are doing here, this cannot continue. You cannot have a dollar funding crunch go on. Now, you may or you may have not understood that. Let me give it to you simply, right? A lot of people think gold is going up because, and I've even said this, that the dollar is going lower through gold. That's one way to think about it. But let me ask you this. Why is gold going up and oil crashing to 58? In other words, oil crashing is a sign that maybe there's like some kind of major problem in the economic world. Oil can be a canary in the coal mine. So you have a freeze here in the system, a shutdown that has no end, right? Polymarket's like, yeah, it'll go on 40 days. You know, in case you haven't noticed, the orange man is perfectly okay with market nukes. He's fine. Oh, stocks went down 25%, like whatever. You're all chickens. Crypto goes down 25%, and then, you know, my homies all buy whatever. He doesn't care about near-term volatility. So, you know, if you have a little shake the tree in crypto, you kind of already have. They're not opposed to that. They've let it happen. That's the one thing that everyone hasn't really considered. There's a geopolitical thing going on here. They're squeezing their allies. Like, yeah, you want to join BRICS? Okay, you go join BRICS. Yeah, okay. And when you need US dollar funding, okay, you come to us. You won't be going to Putin or the Chinese currency. You'll be coming to us for dollars. And then we'll have a conversation about BRICS. Well, sounds like the orange man to me. So what's the end game? Well, one of two things is going to happen here. Either people are going to have to start buying the dollar in the foreign exchange market. In other words, if you can't get a dollar loan, then you got to take whatever foreign currency you have and start actually buying dollars. So if the dollar index goes up, that's obviously going to hurt crypto, and that's not going to be good. Or the Fed has to turn on the printer. The Fed has to turn on the printer so massively that the flood is overwhelming, which then triggers spot ETF buying in crypto, right? Because people in equities are not stupid, right? Larry at BlackRock knows this is days ago. Larry came out and said, you know, we're going to expand the crypto ecosystem massively. Came out and said, you know, Bitcoin is energy. Huh. You think these guys don't know what's going on here with, you know, Jefferies and South Korea and, you know, all this like bubble-licious stuff that's going on in equities where they're wildly overvalued. And the thing that you're so when stuff like this happened is A, and B is filled with market participants that could not possibly be more depressed about it. Think about what happens if everyone is depressed and out and worried to the point where literally they can't think straight. They can't think straight. Patreon Platinum just got in it was so hot off the press. I had to put it in the Patreon Platinum chat where I was, hey, you know, there is DeMarc work. I'm going to flush it all out in a report later, but I just dropped the charts in there and dropped an update from the Gann model. There are charts here that would indicate that if there was going to be a kind of, you know, bottom in crypto, yeah, it could happen right now. It could happen right now. And then there's one other little twist for our friends from the antivirus universe is that, you know, I'm wondering if people are going to start figuring out that even though they need stable coins to be able to issue treasuries and that brings money into the crypto ecosystem, all of that stuff is centralized. You know, if they want to turn you off and they don't like what you're saying, they can just shut you off. Right. And again, this comes back to cryptocurrency, right? The green light for cryptocurrency, the value proposition, like, oh, we don't like the dollar lending system isn't working. Well, Aave works. You need liquidity? Well, we can give you liquidity in crypto. In other words, can can you contemplate what happens to things like Clearpool and Goldfinch and all these lenders inside of crypto if people go looking for credit inside the crypto system? At a moment, ironically, when like the levered margin babies can't get back in. In other words, what happens if BlackRock, Ark Investments, pension funds start doing asset allocation, start looking at gold as a symbol of funding stress and go, gee, is there any other asset that we can buy out there that, you know, does well in this environment? Because it certainly isn't banks. This thing at JEF, yeah, that is serious, people. That is not funny. That stock's down 10% today. Just Dario got them 3 days ago, just put their accounting online. He's like, I didn't even need, all I needed was a pencil. I need a pencil. And the thing about Jefferies, I'm sorry, I can't believe I said that, about Jeff is that, yeah, they're going to need a bailout, right? In other words, how does Jeff get resolved if they're pledging client capital to get themselves shorted out? Where do they get the money from? Well, the Fed. Well, how's the emergency fund at the Fed doing? Oh, it's at zero. Oh, okay. So what has to happen? They have to print. Why do you think the Fed just came out and goes, yeah, that quantitative tightening thing, yeah, we're done with that. Quietly, right? And the market, ironically, the crypto market sold the fact on that, which was unbelievable. I mean, the Gann model came out with this thing. Bitcoin was at like 112 or 113. And Gann model's like, yeah, one more final puke. I'm like, shut up. Shut up. I didn't even want to put it out there. People made fun of me. People like, oh, God, you know, negativity at the low, the late stage bear, the most loathsome creature on earth. Okay. Well, guess what? You know, the model saw it on the charts. And as Magic Internet Money says, I'll show you the charts and I'll show me the charts and I'll show you the news. And then lo and behold, crypto lurches lower because it tried to go up all night, right? I was up all night. It tried to go up all night long. And then there's no one willing to pay higher prices. And then boom. And then when crypto is down, okay, then you start seeing the tweets from these macro guys and you can start putting the pieces together. There is a problem with the dollar lending system. And everyone in legacy knows it, which is why they're buying gold. Because again, if you can't get dollar liquidity, people freak out. No, his gold is going up because people are afraid. And everyone's like, oh, okay, go back to your haircut, eat your cheeseburger at the diner, you know, whatever. Everyone's like, oh, yeah, people are afraid and just go about their business. No. What are they afraid of? And how does that affect crypto? And what happens when the big players look at this and go, you know, I think this can create massive pressure in crypto on the upside once the fear trade happens. In other words, I don't know, maybe there's a lurch lower in equities, or maybe equities are assuming the Fed is coming in. I don't know. But the Fed is coming in. Like they're going to have to bail out JEF. They're bailing out countries selectively. They did Argentina. They're doing South Korea. And how many countries or how many entities are going to have to go to the Fed before this becomes front page news, Wall Street Journal? And this brings you back to good old-fashioned Bitcoin. Good old-fashioned Bitcoin and all the Bitcoin forks. Zcash, Dash, they are after this stuff, right? I mean, if you can't get dollar liquidity in America, how are you getting dollar liquidity in Latin America? They're buying gold to get out of the system. They could be buying Dash to get out of the system. They could be buying Zcash. ETH is undoubtedly a great choice, especially since all that collateral that's been liquidated from the levered margin babies, like the slate in ETH, has to be clear, right? What else are they going to buy to get away from the dollar system? One. Two, what about the tech part of crypto, as we have discussed? I mean, do you realize, I mean, you know, Just Dario has a tweet where he's talking, he shows a strip mall, like a literal strip mall, and he's saying, supposedly, this could be the headquarters of a $25 billion company. And again, this guy works out of Hong Kong, which is convenient because I never sleep, right? I get these tweets. $25 billion market cap company without a single penny of revenues. Not surprising the HQ looks like this. Yeah, okay. Is this really the headquarters? Now, I don't know if this is a joke or not a joke. It may not be a joke. What is a joke is the valuation of crypto relative to everything else. What's also not a joke is how depressed you are. Which again, okay, so let's pretend you didn't understand any of that. Gold goes up, and there's a reason gold is going up is because people can't get loans. They can't get loans, and the US dollar system is frozen for multiple reasons. You are max depressed at the exact moment in time where the Fed has to go max print. It just hasn't happened yet. And you'll know when it happens, because the market will go down, 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 down. And then, boom, it just launches higher because they turned on the printing press. And I don't know. I honestly don't know if they have a choice. They don't, right? So again, the upside is asymmetric, meaning new spot ETF demand, along with a little bit of pressure from traders. This is the time where you start thinking about the ETF. Because when people come in and go, wait a minute, we've been long gold. What happens if Bitcoin turns around and you just wake up and it's above 113? I mean, right now it's slumping. We can look at some of the TA. Okay, we can look at, like, say, a 4-hour chart. The Patreon Platinum group has got themselves the 4-hour DeMark charts, which I think are compelling. So which coins are making a bottom? I can tell you that Toby thought 2 days ago that certain coins weren't even going to go down. Certain coins had people already after it, but this is ETH on a 4-hour chart. So naturally, you break out of this triangle here, and it looks terrible, and everyone hates it. Okay. You have Zcash, where, again, you break out of this triangle, and it looks terrible until you consider this fact. Till you consider the idea that Zcash has done this. A, B, C. To a plain Jane, almost 38% retracement. I'm trying to get the whole move there. Yeah. Oh, yeah, there you go. That's nice. See, that's the whole 5-wave up structure in Zcash. And look, Zcash is sitting on the 38% retracement of the whole move. How nice. Doesn't get any better than that. Again, everyone's freaking out. Everyone's losing their mind. For what? Everyone literally is losing their mind. Everyone is losing the psychological reason why they're here. Like, opportunity is out the window in people's minds. Interestingly, if we look at ETH versus Bitcoin, I find this fascinating. Watch this. Is this a hidden head and shoulders bottom in Ethereum versus Bitcoin? In other words, if you think Bitcoin could go up, what happens with something like ETH that traditionally follows metals? In other words, unfortunately for the moment, crypto is caught in this, dollar funding crunch, because that's part of what likely created the margin call. You put a little bit of pressure on crypto and the whole ecosystem snapped. Well, what happens if that suddenly unwinds itself? Because, folks, if you know the history of QE, right? If you know the history, which, you don't because you weren't there, but if you know the history of the Fed suddenly coming in, you got to remember something. In 2023, the Fed came in to ensure the administration had a Merry Christmas for its last Christmas in office before the election. That was just the Fed just putting a little sugar in the market for the sake of putting sugar in the market. If you have a government shutdown where the orange man doesn't care how long it goes, I think I was trying to say that earlier. He doesn't care if the market he doesn't care if stonks go down. He doesn't care if people get squeezed on dollar funding. He doesn't care. Now, is that a good attitude? Probably not, because you're playing with fire. But, you know, it is kind of funny. If you didn't like Jerome Powell, you would put him in a bad position, and he is in a bad position, right? The Treasury's borrowing money. The orange man's got the government closed, and the Fed is looking at this going, you know, this is not good. People are knocking on their door going, hey, I need a loan. Hey, I need a loan. Like, how fast do you think that snowballs? Fast. I mean, it's happening on the tape right now. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I can pull this up. I don't know how long we'll be able to pull it up, but we will pull it up. We will check to see how our friends at, oh, look, here's our friends at Jeff. Let's see how Jeff's doing today. Oh, yeah, Jeff's trading really well. Just Dario got them good. And now people are starting to figure out, whoops. See, this is classic with equities, right? Up only, everything's fine. It's great until it's not. Until it's not. I mean, they're pledging their clients money. Now, of course, you have to remember that old Wall Street motto, where there's one roach, there's a million. What, you think this is the only character that's got this problem? No, this is the only character that the macro guys on Twitter could just whip out their pen and paper and figure it out. And this was obvious. What about the ones that are not obvious? Now, again, back to crypto. The good news is, hey, we've had our Jeff moment. We already did this. We're done, which is classic for crypto, right? Crypto always goes first, right? Gold is going up because people are afraid. What are they afraid of? Oh, well, they can't get a loan in dollars. They're moving outside the dollar system. Okay, crypto freaks out. Everyone gets liquidated. Everyone gets depressed. Meanwhile, the Federal Reserve, I mean, it's like the tubes are loaded. Right? It's like a submarine. The tubes are loaded and they're loaded with money. And they're just going to indiscriminately open up the hose and it's just going to be like whoosh. I mean, you watch. You watch. You know when this gets really bad? When the Fed comes in and all of a sudden all the politicians go, you know what? We're going to settle our differences. Yeah. Because, you know, they're going to get a call. And it's going to be, hey, it's Jerome Powell on line 1. And all of a sudden the government will be open. The government will be open overnight. You'll know that that's max stress and that's crypto to the moon. Because when they settle their differences and the Fed has to print, it's up only. It's up only. Now, of course, right now, it doesn't look like that. It looks horrible. There's no bid. No one wants it. Everyone is depressed. I understand everyone's depressed. Believe me. Like, the only person that I know that's not depressed is Toby. Because Toby's like, yeah, this doesn't matter. This just like, yeah, you know, Bitcoin's going massively higher. So you guys have fun with the minutia. Is it 109? Is it 107? And that's the right attitude, by the way. Now, of course, that's easy to say when your bags are wrecked. But if you got your bags in the right place and you're looking at some of these cryptos that are going up, the crypto market is trying to rally from the bottom up, meaning people are like, oh, I can't control myself anymore. Like we have $25 billion companies with no revenue, with offices in a parking lot. And we have, you know, AI projects worth 25 million, you know, or even 60 million, or some of them are like, you know, 15 million, or like privacy coins that may not be totally private, but they're outside the top 50. Like I'm working on a Dash deep dive, right? And I discovered that Dash has kind of like they almost have like a proof of stake mechanism, you know, in addition to the proof of work stuff. And that Dash, the supply has been, you know, coming off the market and going into sort of their staking mainnet. I don't have the language right in front of me, but it's interesting that the supply of that is being quietly reduced. The network is being upgraded of sorts. It's not perfect, but if you want to do business in Latin America and you can't get dollars, that might explain the Dash bid. Dash is also popular in a very big country that, we are currently not, not exactly friendly with. So, and that could add to it. So again, just like in any bull market, the lower quality stuff or the stuff that no one owns leads the market. So, there wasn't anything to talk about when it came to Dash, except, oh, gee, look at this. Isn't this interesting? Okay, well, obviously they bid it up to the premium zone. They took it back up to the election high. And like so many other cases, you'll go to the premium zone and then you'll come off and test equilibrium. That's kind of interesting, don't you think? I mean, this is where Dash was at the start of the year. Now, again, if this is about a dollar funding problem, then cryptocurrency becomes interesting. We already covered Zcash. The other just completely abandoned stepchild is XRP. All these ISO 2022 coins, 20022 coins that have just been thrown out the window. Now, as a matter of fact, with XRP, if you look close here on a 4-hour chart, right? Okay, so there was this stupid wick, which, I kind of wish they would get rid of because, honestly, like how much crypto really traded at those prices? Come on. Should those prints be there? I don't even think they should be there. But, XRP took out the low of the non-wick candle. So if you get rid of the non-wick candle, they officially gave up on XRP today at 227. So if you're following this, you're saying, wait a minute, there's a problem in the dollar banking system. There's a problem with getting currency to the point where everyone is freaking out and buying gold. And they took XRP, which is fast money, and dumped it literally below the low. In other words, Bitcoin and ETH, like ETH was down at 35.50. Nothing really did a retest of the lows. XRP did a test of the non-wick lows. Actually, speaking of that, Bitcoin did the same thing. Actually, Bitcoin was worse, right? So here's the non-wick low. So there's a wick, and then there was the low, and Bitcoin just ran all the stops below that, which is probably why the Gann model said what the Gann model said 2 days ago in both Patreon Platinum and the Patreon VIP area. And we covered this. On the YouTube member podcast. So if you had been on that podcast 3 days ago, you would have known there was risk in Bitcoin down to 107.5 because she flat out said it. And you got to understand the power of these podcasts, right? I'm sitting there with information from our model. Okay. She doesn't know about that. She doesn't know about the calculations. I'll be like, hey, what do you think? You think Bitcoin can fall below 108? I'm looking at what the Gann model says. And she looks at me and goes, yeah, Bitcoin can go to 107.5. I'm like, oh my God. This is from the lady who thinks it's going to $1 million and can't stop talking about it. So if you're on these podcasts, right? Like, if you're upset today, yeah, you could have saved yourself a little money maybe, or some emotional anguish because you knew it was going to 108. I was like, I woke up today and it was at 108. And I was like, oh, good. That's exactly where we thought it was going. And look what they did. They ran all the stops. They made everyone upset. I mean, again, let's just go back. The Bitcoin chart is still here. How much more upset can people get? Right? I mean, if you bought the first, if the wick happened and you bought the first dip, you just got stopped out. So now who's left? I mean, if you zoom out on this, right? I mean, talk about max pain. Okay, so we start in September, right? It's going to be October. Everyone buys the market. Then everyone gets stopped out. Levered players wiped out. Kentucky Fried Chicken. Spot players buy the dip after the wick, and then they get stopped. Or they panic and sell or whatever. Or they just get so upset they're inconsolable or D, all the above. And I wouldn't blame you if you were inconsolable. But what I'm trying to show you here, I'm trying to show you the story about what's happening. I'm trying to tell you that the Fed's going to come in, and then BlackRock's coming in right behind them. BlackRock may come in before that. BlackRock may just say, oh my God, we cannot sit around. We cannot sit around and get calls from pension funds. Because remember, BlackRock has customers too. BlackRock is not the Death Star floating in space all by its lonesome. Okay, there's a layer of people above BlackRock that consume BlackRock's products, their mutual funds, their ETFs. What's going to happen when people start calling us up, a trading desk start calling us and being like, hey, yeah, the Bitcoin ETF, yeah, we need a lot. How much can you get? And how much liquidity is actually sitting here in crypto? Like if you came in, with all this liquidation and all this fear and, people just contract, liquidity contracts. Like if someone came in and started buying huge amounts of crypto, who's the seller? Like, where are they going to get all that crypto from? It's not there. It's not. And this includes Ark Investments and Fidelity. I mean, these are catalysts that people are not thinking about. Because, if I can explain all this to you and you understand, let's say you understand 60% of what I said. Or let's say you understood 40% of what I said. You can bet your bottom dollar that BlackRock understands 105% of what I said. Cathie Wood, Fidelity, all of these characters that have to Elon, the orange man's kids, World Liberty Financial. Oh, you can bet your bottom dollar that they know exactly what's going to happen when Powell pushes the print button. It's the opposite of the kind of RUG that happens at the top, right? Eric is like, yeah, let's go. Everyone's like making fun of him. Like maybe he's the one telling you that, hey, every time he says buy the dip, yeah, that usually happens before the dip. It's actually warning you that it's going to happen. What happens when somebody comes out and puts a tweet out that's like, hey, love this crypto market, and BlackRock is in the next day, or BlackRock will already be in, and then somebody will come out and go, yeah, everything's good. Think about it, right? It's the second this turns, you're going to have massive buying because the Fed has to fix this. You cannot have banks failing. I mean, like I said earlier, you think JEF is the only problem out there when banks are sitting on hundreds of billions of dollars in unrealized losses? Not to mention that, if you don't believe that, okay. So Jefferies needs loans. So Jeff, who is Jeff doing business with? This is what happened with Lehman, right? Who lent money to them? They have debt. Somebody lent money to them. What happens if their customers start pulling all their money out of the bank? What happens? That can spread out. The Fed's not going to have that. They can't have that. I wouldn't be surprised if they were in the morning, especially with the way Jeff is trading. I mean, what? They're going to let macro Twitter go out with, oh, you thought gold was rallying? Let me tell you why. What, you think I'm the only guy that's going to do that? I'm the only guy that's going to tell you that is followed by the Fed, which could be preceded or immediately followed by BlackRock. Very, very simple. And again, I said it before, at the point where you have max depression, max pain. Maybe it's max financial pain. Maybe it's max emotional pain, which is why you should be listening to Toby on the YouTube member podcast, because she keeps our customers cool. She keeps me cool. She doesn't even like tactical ideas, but she helped me with the tactical stuff like to the T. Totally walked down the cubicle this morning and high-fived her. Just amazing call, right? Because honestly, and this is just, I'm just being straight with you about, depression in this market. Like, I was like, I got to come out and say this thing is going to go down one more time. Like, people were just like, shut up. I don't want to talk to you anymore. Now that turned out to be right. And it speaks to, this is just my personal lesson. I'm like, I cannot tell everybody I have a model and then get something out of the model and then selectively not publish it because no one wants to hear it. And I'm glad I did, because to the extent that I saved anybody any money or any psychological aggravation, again, Patreon Platinum, YouTube member area, we're giving it to you on video, audio, reports. Folks, I know that you're wrecked, but this is when you get research, because we're doing banter bubbles in the morning. We're doing live picks tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern. I got to set up the stream. We are just like full on. I bought BTC PA this morning for me. I was like, hey, you know what? I got to get some of this. I can get this, Coinbase premiums. I can get it. I don't know, below 110. Yeah, okay. I'll get some of that. We'll see at 150. Remember all these people with year-end targets? Like this is the other thing that people kind of have to start remembering. Like Tom Lee says ETH is going to 10,000. Michael Saylor says Bitcoin's going to 250. Larry Fink says Bitcoin's going to 700. Guys, how does that happen? It doesn't magically happen. I mean, I know in crypto, we think we buy stuff and it goes abracadabra and number go up and we get a Lambo. And I understand that. No, nobody wants to think. Thinking takes energy, or you may not be able to get good information, which is a reminder to subscribe to this channel, right? Turn on alerts so you know when we're going live, because we can go live now on the shorts feed, right? Where they have adequate amounts of hate. I saw some hate coming through earlier on the phone. I know I'm getting somewhere when you're getting that hate. Subscribe to the channel, because you know what? Whatever you're hearing now will be on the other channels when they're reading it to you from the Wall Street Journal. We want to give it to you 3 days in advance, because to be completely honest, and again, Patreon Platinum's got the details, folks, you could be looking at a low for the ages. You could be, and I did a short video on this. I mean, this could be a generational low in ETH. Why is every thumbnail on YouTube, like first it was Michael Saylor, now it's Tom Lee. Tom Lee is everywhere. Tom Lee is everywhere. I thought my glasses were a little bit too thick. I got to maybe go out and upgrade to get thicker glasses. So maybe, I can sport that Tom Lee look, because he's everywhere. So the $10,000 ETH guy is everywhere, and everyone's selling ETH below 4K. Do you see how this is just completely stupid? That guy is everywhere, and we're all selling. And we're depressed. And he keeps telling you and telling you and telling you. And Toby keeps telling you and telling you. And I'm telling you and telling you. No one's listening. Every single YouTube thumbnail is crash. It's over. It's a trap. It's done. Over. It's over. Yeah, it's over. Yeah, okay. Right. The Fed, they're all sitting around watching everyone line up. It used to be called the discount window. You used to have to physically go there and knock on a little window and say, hi, I need a loan. That's what they used to call it. It's different now, obviously, right? I'm sure it still exists, but it's not an actual window. What do you think? Do you think they want like total instability, right? Do you think that when they're talking about replacing the head person, or they're talking about eliminating the institution? Trust me, if this dollar funding stress continues, the guys that are talking about sort of like getting rid of the Fed as an institution, they'll change their mind, because they're going to have to spool up the printer in such a way to prevent something much more serious. And then the day that the politicians settle and open the government, which would probably happen very suddenly, crypto will probably be moving before that. And that will be total ignition of the fact that they just have to flood the system in every way, shape, or form. Fiscally, right? The budget, spending, the Fed, everything. Because the Treasury cannot fund itself with this type of like restriction in the market. So every day that gold goes up, is another day closer to them explosively printing, right? Gold is going up because of fear in the system, right? Fear in the system. And Big Rich did the super chat. I'm sorry. I'm glad I scrolled. Again, Eagle King is not here. So let me slow down on the monologue and give our customers, because remember, okay, the guys that are super chatting are our members everywhere. They're consuming all of our research, and they're super chatting. Okay, so Tau on a 4-hour chart. To be completely honest, this type of stuff is obvious. Fetch artificial superintelligence token did not execute, right? They had some negative news. Tau just kind of breaks out of nowhere, right? This is a classic example LuxAlgo puts support underneath the market. You know, LuxAlgo buy signals down here on signals and overlays. I don't know if you can see it. Maybe you can't see it on the vertical stream. You know, I can try to like move the window into the middle. Maybe that's better. Okay, so you have this prior high zone around 372, and they take it down to 374, and they sell it right into support. And how many times have we seen them sell stuff right into support and just whoop? The market has decided that this is the AI play. And again, like we said, this is the Bitcoin of the AI space in crypto. Can you believe that? And I got to be honest with you, you know, there was a part of me was like, well, you know, maybe it's a little late for this. But, you know, if dollar funding stress continues, there's the idea of silver. Now, on this note, as you can see, this green on green is absolutely unbelievable extreme FOMO in silver, as you might suspect. Okay. Silver's at its premium zone. No one cares. It just kind of goes up. Top of the premium zone is $55. I think if there's a point about both silver and gold, okay, it's that, you know, this level of FOMO is indicative of stress in the system. Ironically, if the Fed actually printed and relieved the stress in the system, even though that's completely counterintuitive, some of this stuff might correct. And you know what? I'm going to be honest with you. If they don't solve it, if they just leave it till it breaks, I can't believe they would do it. But if that's the strategy, or if that's the idiotic interaction, which one guy was talking about it, you know, we have idiotic interactions here between the Treasury, the administration, and the Fed. They are not on the same page. So if they're idiots and they're not on the same page, gold is just going to continue to go up every day. And we're going to continue to sit there and look at it and be like, oh, wow, that's nice. Right? I mean, the longer gold goes up, in my opinion, the more they're going to have to print. That's the case for crypto. It's not just, oh, well, Bitcoin just follows gold, even though I have said that, right? That is something that you can get on YouTube, right? Oh, gold goes up and then crypto follows. Okay, well, in this particular case, gold is going up because of stress in the system. And when the liquidity and the ETF flows start coming in, crypto can go bananas. And you know, and Bitcoin forks, ETH, Solana, XRP. I mean, this is not complicated. Not to mention, like I said, the tech underneath the surface. Okay. Haven Peck says at 109 wrecked, I've never had so much money. Okay. And then, of course, he's right. I mean, Toby's like, you know, everybody thought I was an idiot for talking about crypto at Bitcoin at 100. Now Bitcoin's at 109 and everyone thinks it's the end of the world. It's not. It's not. If anything, it's the start of the new world where people go, you know what? No, I'm not doing this. I'm not. Okay, ZBCN is like a giant consolidation. I'm a big believer in square ranges. This has a little bit, yeah, that's a square range, mostly. Anything inside of a square range, even if it's in the middle of a square range, you know, I know that, you know, one of my babies, Synthetix, took off. Okay. Again, as I said, who I charted it for, you know, you had some divergence here where, you know, you needed to wash it out because this new high in price was not confirmed by momentum indicators. But, you know, you go to premium, you find resistance, you retrace to equilibrium, and then you go back to premium. This is not complicated. It isn't. It is absolutely not complicated, especially if these are things that, you know, have already moved. They've already moved. They've told you. They've absolutely told you, right? Zebec, new standard, right? Big Rich, I'm sorry I got to you late there, right? T-Bone says, I'll DCA for years. Ariana says, is FET dead? You know, you got a lot of people asking me about this. You know, this is unfortunate because we really did think that this was going to be a top play. the only good news about Fetch is that there's no good news. Like, let me look at the chart. Like, the chart shows, the Elliott wave shows it's a 5-wave down, right? In other words, like, this give up trade was in fact a give up trade down into the discount zone. They just completely gave up on it. They just packed it in. Now, can TAO revive AI valuations inside the crypto system? Yes. I was like, I don't know that you want to give up on AI right now. I mean, supposedly, Toby just sent the video to me, right? So that's Fetch down at the weekly discount zone at 21 cents. I'm not seeing a reason to be puking out tech altcoins right here. Supposedly, the Chinese have released like DeepSeek Shock Part 2, where, if you go in and say, give me a presentation on why Gen Z can't buy a house, supposedly this thing just like, just creates an MBA style, presentation where, ChatGPT will give you an outline, tell you to use Canva. This thing says, make me a website with one prompt, and just, the Chinese are just flat out showing off now, right? The AI world is about to wake up again. And crypto is so undervalued. Not to mention the fact that, the other Just Dario theme is that, you got a lot of funny business going on with accounting and who's doing the deal and who's funding who. I mean, I saw a number the other day where someone says OpenAI, for every $3 OpenAI spends, they only get $1 back. So to create $1 in revenue, OpenAI has to spend $3 now. I understand they're building out this huge thing. I understand they're competing with the Chinese. I get all that. But listen, if you have funding, FOMO, funny business, liquidity problems, the issue isn't, it's probably easy to make fun of OpenAI, but I don't know that that's the problem. I think if there's a problem in the universe, yeah, maybe it's this. Like, someone explain this to me, right? This is Hood. So you think you got a little shenanigan, you got a little insanity going on over there in stocks? Tried to get Robinhood and Total 3 on the same axis. Let's just go back to Robinhood. Let's see, what is this? Robinhood was at 15 in August, and it went to 150. So Robinhood stock 10x'd, and they cannot stop selling ETH. They cannot stop selling XRP. They cannot stop selling. No one wants Bitcoin at 109. Wow, we want Robinhood stock up 10x. Really? Okay. Like, on a relative value basis, crypto is a joke. And the second this macro thing has to be resolved by the Fed, because it does have to be resolved, see ya. Joe wants to know, am I using Stalkchain? Kevin says, am I watching Proton? Right? Other guys are still talking about ZBCN. Guess who Chicken Boo is in the house? Speaking of that, let's welcome all of our members, all of our friends who support the channel, Spartan Colonels, who have been here for a year, like Big Rich, welcome. Philip, DCA on the way. Okay. Every day is a crypto crash, Bill. I don't know how you're still bullish. Dude, I'm still bullish because I work with someone who lives in 2050, and I know whatever's going on now will be a bunch of BS that you don't remember later. Okay. Ryan W. becomes a loyalty badges and emojis member. Sir, welcome back. We appreciate you. Right? Guess who Chicken Boo is in the house? Hal Lopez up in the middle of the night from Portugal. Bull Runner. Bob the Bruce. Crypto Plumber. Gian, a Spartan Colonel. Warmon. Right? Bob the Bruce. Lost plenty. Just thinking longer term, man. This group specializes in the best tactical work we can get. while still maintaining a view as to what's really going to happen. Because if you're really going to have a parabolic, if you're really going to have a banana zone, you have to begin from a place where no one believes it, right? If a lot of the macro guys thought gold was going up, but if I told you that gold was going to go up every single day while crypto did nothing and then went down, you would have said, you're out of your mind. You're out of your mind. Guess who, Chicken Boo, is enjoying a cold beverage? Right on. Caroline, the storyteller, is here. Calm us down. I'm doing my best. T-Bone, Havoc, our members, ADL, Havoc, welcome. The Hand of God. Really like that. Suncatcher Hawaii, Daniel J. Where's Uncle Sugar? Trust me. When Uncle Sugar opens up the government, and of course, they'll wait till it's really bad. They may not even understand what's going on here. I know Bessent does, and I know Powell does, but what they do about it is in question, right? Crypto Crazy Knowledge Dump. Welcome to the show. Stefan. T-Bone reminding you to hit the like button. Tango FN, right? Tyler from the antivirus universe. They don't like you. You know that, right? They don't like you. They don't like you. The system is not designed with you in mind. It's not. I went to Costco the other day. I got a chicken, cheese, and yogurt. There might have been one other thing in there. Chicken, cheese, yogurt, sour cream. Well, it was not a full basket. It's $150. It's like, if I had put meat in the cart, it would have been one Zcash for groceries. Like, the system is not designed with you in mind. So we got to get out of the system. People going to gold to get out of the system, and everyone is giving up on crypto going, can't do it. Look at this. Bob Mack says all crypto is fake and something else. Dude, the despair is unbelievable. Look, if you don't want to buy the market, that's fine. If you don't want to participate in crypto, that's unfortunate. But I understand. But if you give up on the idea that this is the opportunity of a lifetime, whether it's now, 3 days from now, a week from now, or a month from now, that would be a big mistake. Not investment advice, because remember, this is an opinion show. Okay. Like I said, do not give up on the opportunity that exists in crypto. You bought the wrong thing, call your accountant, right? Because I think when they turn on the printer, this is going to be straightforward. This is going to be straightforward. AB is here. Welcome. Haven Peck. We got a crowd. Gavin Busby. Stefan Williams. What's going on? Joe Hackman. Coin Operated. All our friends. Hey, Hand of God says virtuals is really good. Hand of God is, is a pretty smart guy. All right, we got a lot of pretty smart guys in the chat. Ironically, that's one of the value propositions for the Patreon group. Okay, so today I obviously probably went way longer than I should because I didn't have to worry about, the Eagle King being like WTF on stream length. So that is the market update for today. We will see you tomorrow, especially in the YouTube member area, 9 a.m. Eastern. Be there.